I'll go ahead and start us. Greetings, everyone. This is Tuesday, the 5th of, July 2022. And I've got a new friend here, podcast host. I don't know anything about him, but it's the podcast called Heresy, Untapped. And we had a little bit of an exchange on Twitter, and he invited me to, I invited him to have a conversation. He graciously agreed, and then we tried on a different venue, and I just couldn't get it to work. So he agreed to allow me to go ahead and host with a YouTube video. So anyway, welcome, Heresy. Is that shall I call you, or what would you like?
No, my name's Josh.
Josh. Okay. So Josh, Nice to meet you. I'm Trey.
Nice to meet you.
You're asking me. So I guess you have a podcast that you host. Yep. Okay. What's it about?
Well, God and religion, pretty much. Essentially, it's just about an exploration with my friend into the Bible, and we read some of the stories. Uncut. We don't filter any of the information from the Bible. We just give it to you straight.
Okay, so I don't understand. Is your friend a skeptic or is he a Christian?
He's he's an atheist. We both are.
Oh, so you consider yourself an atheist?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. You mean like a soft atheist, right?
I don't really understand the distinctions between what you're saying, but I don't know.
It's not possible to be an atheist because it's just the negation of God. But in order to actually be able to make an absolute statement that there is no God, you would need to know everything, and you don't know everything, do you?
Well, atheists don't claim that there is no God possible. They claim that they don't believe in any of the current gods.
Right. So you're like a soft atheist then, because there's no such thing as a true atheist, because you can't.
Well, yeah, sure. If you want to be that kind of pedantic and disingenuous with the term atheism, then yes, I guess.
Well, it's not disingenuous. I've been doing this more than a decade, and I've not very often I meet somebody who calls himself an atheist.
But yeah, it's kind of strange. A lot of people don't like it because they get responses like this, but like, oh, you just think God can't exist. It's not possible. How ridiculous is that statement? Well, I mean, you can't know that God actually exists either, but I don't say, are you a soft Christian?
Well, no,
do I?
No, I actually am saying I can prove God's existence with analytical certainty. That's
really? So, okay. Well, let's hear the evidence you got here, Trey. It must be ground shattering. I'm surprised I don't see you on every news channel.
No, actually, it's quite elementary. And I was like, do you know who Pine Creek is?
Pine Creek?
Yeah, Doug Pine Creek or Doug Pine Creek.
No, I don't.
He's got an atheist podcast. I was just on his show last week, and anyway, we won't go there.
Pine Creek's the name of the show or the name of the person?
Yeah, he's got a YouTube channel, Pine Creek. He's part of this. Are you familiar with street epistemology?
No.
Peter Boghossian, you ever heard of him?
Nope.
Okay, well, they're pretty well known in the skeptical community. Street epistemology is employing the Socratic method in getting people to challenge the ideas that they had. Boghossian wrote a book called A Manual for Creating Atheists, and he has several disciples that are very intelligent guys. And I was kind of interacting with them on Twitter, and I challenged a bunch of them to engage, and most of them didn't want to, except for a couple, and they were very gracious and kind. But anyway, these guys, they utilize the Socratic method and just testing people's ideas. And oftentimes, most religious people don't have any real reason for believing what they believe in. And basically, they just end up exposing that. And so that's basically the secret to A Manual for Creating Atheists. And one of my problems with Dr. Boghossian, he was a philosophy professor at out in the Northwest somewhere, and then he left because of wokeness. He's not into being woke. And now I think,
how do you spell his name?
Boghossian.
There it is. Dr. Boghossian. Check him out later.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll quite like him.
Peter?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you're James Lindsay?
That name sounds familiar, but
they work together. I don't know if you remember this. There were some scholars. Boghossian was one, and Lindsay was another. They wrote a bunch of scholarly works that were basically spoofs on woke ideology, and they got peer reviewed. And what was it called? I can't remember what it's called. Helen Pluckrose, Peter Boghossian, and James Lindsay wrote the book. Probably been 5 years ago now. But it put a lot of it caused a lot of waves, and they were not popular in their community for the book, but it was hilarious. Anyway,
Have you read the book by what's his name? John McWhorter? Woke
yes,
racism.
yes, yeah. I like John McWhorter. I mean, a lot of stuff he has. And then who's the other guy? Who's a professor as well. McWhorter writes for the Atlantic. I'm blanking out another guy who is a little more, not quite as left as McWhorter, but yeah. Anyway, I'm familiar with him.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy. There's a podcast that he's on all the time, and I can't think of the name of the guy who does it. But anyway, okay. So let's get to the topic at hand here. So we're going to talk about the existence of God. And I'm really quite simple with my argumentation. I'm very passionate about being analytical and careful with the way that I think. And so whenever I begin my conversations, I always require from my interlocutors that they give me two basic presuppositions for epistemological or for inquiry that are epistemological foundations. And number one is going to be the law of non-contradiction or rational coherence. Will you grant me the law of non-contradiction as a necessary precondition to be able to inquire about anything?
Sure.
And then secondly, the basic reliability of sense perception. Will you grant me that? Not perfect, just that we basically can trust our senses, at least in some degree, to be able to make scientific and philosophical inquiry.
Limited,
right?
But
that's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, I mean, I know there is perception from senses. Yeah,
right.
Sure.
And basically, all I need is enough sense perception to know that I, the inquirer, exist. So, with those two foundations, I've never had anybody question those. I go through and I say that there are, if something exists, there are only four possibilities. Either it is an illusion, or it is self-created, or it is self-existent, or it is created by something that is self-existent. And so I'll go through each one of these and check them off as we go. So the first one is that
illusion makes sense.
Well, okay. Well, here's the problem with the illusion. Are you familiar with René Descartes' cogito ergo sum?
I think, therefore I am.
Yeah. He was 17th century rational philosopher, and he basically wanted to find out knowledge that cannot be doubted. And he said, I want to get any knowledge that I can climb into a Dutch oven and I can just rationally find true truth, because our senses trick us and deceive us. And so he wanted to know what he could not doubt. And so he said, in order to doubt my existence, I need to doubt that I exist. And if I'm doubting it, then I'm thinking. And so therefore, I, as the inquirer, think, therefore I am. So it could be everything else around me. I'm a solipsist, and everything around me is, illusion. But I know that everything can't be an illusion because I have to be able to doubt that there's an illusion. So at base, we know for sure that at least the inquirer exists. Therefore, everything that exists is not an illusion. So that takes care of that one. Second one is that which exists is self-created. And you granted me already the law of non-contradiction. And if something creates itself, it needs to be and not be at the same time and in the same relationship. In other words, it would have to be before it is if it were to make itself. So we know that self-creation is irrational if we're going to accept the law of non-contradiction. So that which exists cannot be self-created. Okay. And the third possibility is that which exists is self-existent. Now, that which is self-existent cannot be subject to change. It must be self-existent. You've got, for the purpose of my argumentation here, I'm going to say there are two types of ontology or being. There is self-existence, and there is contingent existence or dependent existence. And dependent existence cannot exist independently by definition because it's dependent. So if you want to say the entire universe is self-existent, you're going to have to demonstrate that it somehow does not change, because anything that changes is brought to a new state of being by something outside of itself that's already actualized. So, for example, I used to be 6'3", now I'm about 6'2". So at one point in my life, I was 6'3", and I was potentially 6.2, but I was brought actually to 6.2-ness by something else or other things outside of me, and even some actual being that I have in myself. In other words, something needs to be moved to the new state of being that it is by something that already actually is outside of itself. So anything that changes is dependent by definition. And everything that we observe in the universe is changing. So you cannot say that the universe, this is one of probably my favorite oppositional argument, is they'll say, well, you say that God just is, and they'll say, well, just the universe just is. The problem is the universe changes, therefore anything that changes is dependent by definition. And especially you, the inquirer. I mean, I don't even need the universe. All I need is you, the inquirer. You know that you were born. You know that you need oxygen and food. You are contingent by definition. You cannot exist contingently, non-contingently. So that brings us to the fourth option, which is that which exists was created by something that is self-existent. And it's analytically true.
Can you run through your four again?
Sure. Yeah, first one is self-existent. I'm sorry. First one is an illusion.
Illusion. Mm-hmm.
So we know it's not illusion.
Yeah.
We exist. The second one is self-created.
Uh-huh.
In order to self-create, it needs to deny the law of non-contradiction, which has already been granted. So it cannot create itself before it is. It need to be and not be at the same time, same relationship. And then thirdly, self-existent. That which exists is self-existent, but anything that changes cannot be self-existent by definition, because it's brought to the new state of being by something outside of itself that's already actualized.
Okay.
State of being. And so the fourth one is that which exists is created by something that is self-existent. And those are only four possibilities that you can have.
I don't think the fourth one makes any sense because it contradicts with the second one.
The second one? How so?
You said, well, number 4 option is created by something that is self-existent or self-created. So, but if you can't self-create something, then I don't understand how something can be created by it.
Say it again.
You said number 2 is self-created.
Right.
So you're saying something that is self-created, but you said that's not necessarily possible because you had your reasons. And then your fourth one is created by something self-created.
No, I didn't say self-created. I said self-existent.
Okay, self-existent.
It's so pure actuality.
Something that's created by, okay, so self-existent. But you also said...
That was Bertrand Russell. Bertrand Russell made that same mistake. He thought, I'm basically appealing to the law of causality. Bertrand Russell thought that he learned this from John Stuart Mill. He said, John Stuart Mill said, well, if God created everything, then what created God? Because he thought the principles of causality states that everything needs a cause. But that's not what the principle of causality says. It says every effect needs a cause.
Well, in your case, then, what most people refer to as the universe, maybe not outside of some strict scientific definitions, would fit in the same definition as your God, as everything is one. God is everything. Everything is one, right? I mean, that's what you're saying. If God is actuality, everything that exists is God. And
no, okay. I'm not a pantheist. Everything that exists necessarily, he has a necessary or non-contingent existence, but I'm not necessary. I'm not non-contingent, so I'm not God. I'm dependent in my existence.
But you're saying God fits into your bucket 4, right? Created by,
Number
I guess
4.
Not. Yeah, he created by something that's self-existent.
If something exists, and basically I'm referring most basically to me because I'm asking the question, or you are asking the question. Sure. How do you justify your existence? And you had to be created by something that is self-existent because you had to make yourself. And dependent existence cannot exist independently. By definition, that would violate the law of identity and a law of non-identity.
But not for God.
Because God is not an effect. God is not contingent. He's not dependent. He's not changing.
Let me ask you this question. Can you define God for me? What is your definition of God?
Well, in this argument right here, he is the self-existent creator of the universe who upholds and sustains all things.
Okay. Cool. I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, or even a really challenge. I mean, it seems like something that's unprovable, and
Well, no, it's a mathematical proof. It's by way of modus ponens.
no, I know, and I understand that, right? But I mean, I could, okay, but I mean, that doesn't really tell me anything about God besides that logic right there. Besides the fact that He is always existent and created everything,
Mm-hmm.
that's all I know about Him. That's
right.
it.
So you're a theist now.
No, I'm telling you about I'm saying what your rationality would lead someone to is
To be a
just,
theist.
well, I don't think that makes any sense though. I mean, there's no evidence for God.
What law of logic did I violate in giving that argument?
You didn't violate any logic. Well, let
Okay,
me
so where did
hold
the
on,
argument fail?
hold on.
Okay.
Why? So theist would be a belief in a God, right? That's
Right.
what you're trying to say here, that I believe in God now, because
It's the only reasonable option.
right, sure. But you're just saying God is the law of the universe and creator of the universe. So
In this
that,
argument, yeah.
yeah. So if you want to call me a theist based upon God's definition being the creator or the creation and the laws of the universe,
No,
then
did you say creator or creation?
I did, yeah.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay, so just creator.
Yeah, he can't. You
Okay,
can't
okay,
be something
okay.
and its opposite or its necessary corollary at the same time, the same relationship. That's the law of non-contradiction.
Okay.
You can't be a
So,
dog and a non-dog, for example, at the same time, same relationship.
well, are you a Christian?
I am.
So, and then Jesus can't fit into your theory because he would be creation. So we're going to skip over that. We can come back to it. But you're saying the definition of God is the creator and the law enforcer, I guess, or simply set the laws in motion for the universe.
Well, I wouldn't say he set the laws in motion. I mean, from my perspective, since we are dependent existence, it's not like he made us and then just checked out for a while.
Well, I know, but okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not going to
He
hold
must
you
be
to that.
sustaining us moment by moment.
Okay. So he sustains the laws, creator and sustainer of the universal laws.
Yeah, basically the foundation of all it is.
That definition of God is pretty broad. I don't know if that would qualify as a theist viewpoint.
How would that not qualify as a theist view?
Well, it's not that it wouldn't. I mean, it would in this really strict definitions, but I don't hear a lot
Or
of
a loose definition.
I don't hear a lot of theists coming up to me and saying, "Hey, have you heard about God? He created the universe. He created the laws." And then, "Oh yeah, that's it. That's all I have. See ya." I mean,
Oh, I'm a Christian, so I'm going beyond that. But
okay,
the,
but
the
I'm just saying that you're making it it's an unverifiable or unfalsifiable claim.
okay, go ahead and falsify it. Well,
I,
you mean it's
I,
unfalsifiable? I said it's a logical necessity. So your burden now is to demonstrate where my logic is wrong. You've granted that there's contingent existence. You've granted that contingent existence is not non-contingent. Therefore, you need to find the flaw in my argument.
it's
You basically
unfalsifiable.
made the argument yourself. You falsified it yourself.
No, I just said it's well. I mean, I could say
I
the
mean,
same thing about
you
Russell's
can't
teapot,
falsify
right?
it.
Right.
I'm
That's
sorry?
what I'm saying. You say the same thing about Russell's teapot.
That's exactly right. And I already explained to you that Russell did not understand the principle of causality. His entire life, he was a prodigious mind, but on this, he didn't understand third grade definition of causality.
Well, what if we find out that there was a reason for the Big Bang and an understanding for the universal laws of everything?
There is. I just gave it to you.
Well, you say it's
The Big
God,
Bang is a Christian cosmology, my friend.
oh, it's okay.
When that theory first
Okay.
was made popular, they were opposed to it because they knew that it so corresponded to biblical Christianity.
No, the Catholic Church didn't lean into it, and they had the opportunity. They were the first one to come up with
No,
it.
Big Bang cosmology, the way it is now, is fairly new. The Big Bang.
Well, in the 30s, when they were first theorizing it, the Catholic Church had the opportunity to lean into it, and they decided not to. So I don't think they were hesitant based upon it being too justifying their claims.
Well, the cosmology obviously was not including God, but it explains. I mean, it corresponds exactly with what the Bible says.
And I do have an issue with your logic here, because you're self-created and self-existing things that can't. I mean, you're saying something can't be self-created, something can't be self-existing, except when it's God.
No, that there must be contingent being necessitates non-contingent being. Otherwise, it would not be. So I'm positing non-contingent being as a logical corollary. You're familiar with the principle of modus ponens. If A implies B and A is granted, then B necessarily follows. I never had anybody question that. They always agree with that. The necessary corollary to a dependent being is an independent being, or an effect must have a cause. And we've already granted that we are effects. We're not self-existent. We're dependent in our being.
Okay.
So and I'm not giving you evidence. I'm giving you proof, mathematical proof.
I understand. I understand what you're doing. I get it. Okay. So, I think you've made an unfalsifiable logic to say that God is the origin of the Big Bang, or creator of the Big Bang. I think basically, I could say anything would fit that word of God right there. I could call it whatever I wanted.
You can call it whatever you want, but it's God. I mean, it's a necessary being. It's necessary ontological being.
Well, it doesn't have to be a being. It could be a process, something else.
No, there's only two types of existence. There's being and non-being, my friend. So to say it's not a being, then you're just saying it doesn't exist.
Okay, well then is like the sun a being?
Is what?
The sun, our star that we live nearby?
The sun has being, you have being, everything.
Okay.
Make now, you said that it might be a process. A process is a contingency. Okay, anything that changes is contingent by definition.
Well, I didn't realize being included the sun. So I was thinking life form of some sort as being.
Oh, no.
Okay. Yeah. I misunderstood.
Okay.
So, right. Right. The being, the entity, the process, whatever it was that created the Big Bang has to be there.
Yes.
You're just going to call that God.
Well, I'm not speaking of the process. I'm speaking of are you familiar with Aristotelian causality?
What was that?
Aristotelian causality. Aristotle broke down causality into it's called the fourfold causality of Aristotle.
It's been a while since I have reviewed that, but
okay. I am. Well, Aristotle. All right. So.
But here's the whole point. I mean, here's what I don't get. Right. Mm-hmm. You have this proof for God. Okay. I mean, you say it's a loose definition or a strict definition of God. It's fine. The word for God here is being used to describe something which we're not sure of.
No, we're absolutely sure. I'm more sure about this God I'm talking about than I am sure that I'm talking to you, because you could be an illusion. But I know analytically, if I'm going to say that I'm logical, it's a necessary conclusion that I have a creator who gave me existence and upholds me at this moment.
Okay.
He also must be simple. He also must be impassible. He also must be, he must exist. I mean, there are several things that are corollaries. Plato and Aristotle both danced around this really well. They got a lot of this within Inner scriptures, but they were able to understand the necessary corollaries to necessary being. A lot of them.
Okay.
So Pine Creek, I told you that guy was on last week on his show. I told him, I said, not only have I never lost an argument on the existence of God, and this argument's not new. This is old. We're just the Enlightenment. It's all a lot stupider. But not in all ways. In some ways, we can go into that if you want to. But I said, not only have I never lost an argument on the existence of God, I said never had a serious challenge. And he couldn't believe that. He made a meme. You might look on my YouTube page. It's on there. My name's Trey Jadlow, Jadlow.
Okay, so I get your argument. I will. I'm sure you're written out. Send it to me. I'd be interested to see it written out, and I'll think about it for a few days. But I don't understand how. Well, I don't get how this correlates to your God. So, this argument has been made before, probably to you, is that, okay, fine, whatever, your God exists. He created the universe. Or the God exists. He created the universe. It's Allah's name. Now prove it's yours. And so now you have to step into that field. And I mean, you already admitted that a dog can't create itself inside of it, but then you believe Christian, so you actually think that God can do that. So you're
No, again, you're not
contradicting
understanding
yourself.
categories. Yeah, you're not understanding category. I'm not saying God made himself. In fact, that was one of the poor possibilities that that's not possible.
Right, I know you're not. Well, you're saying that's not possible, but the Christian tradition is that God created himself as a man.
Oh, you're talking about a hypostatic union.
I'm not that familiar with.
Christ becoming man. He did not. Christ's human nature was not deity. You know that he was one person with two natures. Are you familiar with that? That's what Christianity teaches.
Well, yeah. I mean,
so his humanity is not deity. When Christ was born of a virgin, that was a human. And there's a union of the divine and the.
So Christ wasn't God.
No, he was God. I said there's a union of the divine and the human, but the human nature, which came to be, is not God. So it doesn't violate that argument at all.
I think it does. It definitely contradicts. The union contradicts. That's the contradicting part.
Okay.
If you're saying God can't create, or if something saying a self-existing being can't create something inside of itself, then with the union, that's the part that's contradictory. Either Jesus was a man, or because Jesus can't be God, because God can't create itself inside of itself.
Yeah, I'm not saying that God underwent change when Christ's humanity was created. God is outside of time.
No, I get that. I understand that, but I'm saying the union is the problem, because that contradicts it.
How so? Because it's not that the human essence is not God, a divine essence. The person is one person with two natures. In other words, the mind, will, and emotion. Everything that a human has, Jesus had. But in his nature, he was human. In his human nature. But he was the person of Christ. One person, two natures.
Yeah,
that doesn't violate anything.
I think it really does. Actually, I think it contradicts. Well, that's why I said I need your stuff written down so I can go back and reference what part you were talking about. Or maybe I can listen to the recording and have it for me. I tried to type this down, but it was clearly not fast enough.
Well, it'll be on my page.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say that's a contradiction of your own four possibilities, that Jesus is a God. That would contradict your four possibilities, according to your definition.
Well, he was God. It was the person of Jesus.
Oh, I'm just saying, Jesus can't be a God based upon your four qualifications. So I mean, again, we can push this God thing out to as far back as possible, reduce him down to creator of the universe, upstander of universal laws. I'm fine to leave God there. If that was the argument, I mean, that's a deist, right?
Well, you could say that if it's a God who created all things and then is not really involved in our
that's the deist position. So, I mean, I guess really you said, oh, now I'm a theist, but really I think I would make myself a deist now. If you want to call
well, that. Deism is a subcategory of theism.
Right. That's what I was just going to say, is that deism is part of theism. So, yeah, I mean, I could see, but your argument is, proving a very small portion of deism. That's what that proof can be used for evidence for, right? Can't go any further than that.
Well, you can go further, but I'm just saying it at least does that there's a creator and a sustainer.
The argument doesn't go any further than that. You can continue to make other arguments that go further, but that one goes as far as deism.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, I think that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to um, spend a ton of time trying to figure out. I mean, if even if there is any logical flaws in there, it doesn't necessarily sound like it off the face of the argument. Seems pretty logical, and it gives me a deistic God.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, I had a Buddhist friend once tell me. I asked him, what do you think created the Earth, or what do you think this is? How did we all get here? And he said, if I told you, how would that change your life? And I said, well, I guess it kind of wouldn't. And he goes, yeah, exactly.
Well, seeing as Buddhists are atheists anyway, they don't have.
Yeah.
They don't. In other words, he didn't have an answer.
Well, he said that he basically told me that if you're asking you, or if he had your argument in his back pocket and gave it to me and said, here's proof for God, how does that change your life? It doesn't. You still are in the same situation. You have the same problems. You have the same everything else.
But
It doesn't really affect anything. So that's kind of where I'm at with this argument. I mean, okay, you got a deist God for sure. Cool. Now what?
Okay, so you concede you're no longer an atheist then?
Well, no, I don't consider.
You were a very hard atheist when we started this conversation, by your own confession. You said there was no reason to believe in a God. Now I've given you a reason that there's a God that you have not refuted. Now are you a theist? I must say you're more honest than most guys that I talk with.
Well, I try to be honest person.
They'll try to shout me down and just tell me to shut up.
Well, my issue with this is basically that words and definitions, right, are our way of trying to communicate ideas to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you going to nail me into a theistic worldview based upon the proof of a deistic God in 2022? This is where I was saying this is disingenuous, because what you're trying to do here is bully me into a position which, I mean, isn't really reflective of the modern sense of the world, of how we interpret the world. Now, and once again, your God that you proved here, you've assigned God to the thing that is this. It has to be something. You've just called that God. Now, and really, we don't ever use the word God to mean that. We use it in much different sense of words. So I think you're kind of changing the definition of God and then calling me a theist. And I don't really like that. I'm not sure I'm.
So you've always been a theist and you just didn't know it?
Well, again, the definition of God can be so loose that if it encompasses everybody, then I guess everyone falls into that category. The point I'm trying to make is that the words that we use to describe ideas are different. So, but you're saying just whatever created the Big Bang. Mm-hmm. Let's roll in the laws of nature were part of the Big Bang. Let's just say that was all happened at the same time.
Okay.
And it's self-sustaining, let's say. I mean, God can still interfere or whatever, but God, the thing that created the Big Bang, you're calling God.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because I'm reasonable.
Well, I mean, why can't it be something else?
What do you mean something else? I mean, you want to give another name. You want to call it Sally Struthers, that's fine. But
that's my point. So I'm going to call it Sally then. Okay. I believe Sally was the Big Bang, so I'm a Sallyist.
Okay. Well, you're not an atheist. That's right.
Well, I don't believe in gods. I believe in Sally.
Okay.
Why
don't you just go ahead and call it the Flying Spaghetti Monster?
Well, see, okay, yeah. I mean that's my point here. Is like that.
What's your point? You conceded the argument.
I haven't. I said send it to me. Let me review it. I will get back to you on it. And I'll be honest with you. But even so,
you know what? I really doubt you will, Josh. Most people, they're really nice at first, and then after a while, they just kind of disappear.
Well, that might be a reflection on yourself, Trey.
Could be.
I'm trying to be. My point is that the word theism here is stretched to say. So I have to either say the Big Bang created itself, or God created the Big Bang. Those are my two options that you're giving me.
Right, that was option 2, self-created, or created by something that's self-existent.
Right. So if I say I think there might be a cause to the Big Bang. I don't know. I'm not a cosmologist, but I think a lot of people think there probably was. I think a lot of people, I mean, everything else has a cause, so it makes sense this would too. We might find out that's not true. But you're saying because of that, I believe in God, therefore I am a theist.
I know that I'm not self-existent. It's really simple.
Well,
and anybody who's going to be reasonable is going to say you cannot have turtles all the way down. You can't have potentialities that were actualized all the way down, because that potential is not really anything. And if you started out as a potential, you're just saying self-creation. Everything created itself before it existed, and that's a violation of law of non-contradiction.
Well, we've already shown that we can. That's not always a strict rule with this logic process.
Give me an example.
Jesus, the theist. This is okay. I genuinely just don't even really understand what your point you're trying to make here. That everyone's who realizes that the Big Bang has a cause automatically makes them a theist. That's what you're trying to say. You've assigned the causation of the Big Bang. You're using the
No,
logic,
I'm not.
You're using logic to show that the Big Bang had a cause, and then calling that cause God, and then saying anyone who thinks the Big Bang had a cause is a theist. That's not something that I would agree with.
If they will concede that self-existence is the necessary corollary to the Big Bang, yeah, that's what God is. God is a self-existent being.
Oh, see, I don't necessarily think that's the case.
Oh, so you think that everything is contingent? There's only two types of being. There's dependent being, and there's self-existent being.
Well, I'm saying no. I didn't say that necessarily either. You're saying that something that created itself had to create the Big Bang. Well, why not? Doesn't have to be the case. Something else, just as there could have been something before the Big Bang. There could have been something else. There could be a whole other thing above the Big Bang. There could be a whole other time.
Well, then you just compounded the problem. I mean, if you want to talk
about
it,
we're talking about infinite regress here, and that's the problem we have that we can get into.
Right, which is irrational.
Right. So
you're just caving to, you're just capitulating and giving up.
Well, hold on. If you can go one step behind the Big Bang, I can go one step.
I'm not going one step behind the Big Bang.
You are.
I'm not multiplying the problem. I'm solving it.
No, you're really not. You're saying that before the Big Bang, God was there. Bam, Big Bang, it's over, solved, no worries about it. I'm saying I'm not for sure that what was before the Big Bang is the last stop.
It doesn't matter. You want to add 5,000 stops to it, doesn't matter. But you got to sometime you got to come to why put it off for 1,000 steps when you can just do it in one. You're not solving anything. It's called you're familiar with Occam's razor.
Yeah.
You're adding complexity to the argument just because you don't have an answer. That's cheating.
Well, I would say getting to the very end, calling it God, and then saying you're a theist is also cheating.
How so?
Because you're calling the being or the thing or the process or the whatever it was.
I'm not speaking of the process. I'm speaking to the efficiency of the process.
The thing that created the Big Bang is God. Therefore, you have to be a theist. That's cheating.
Okay. Anyway, Josh, I got to go. I haven't had lunch or supper yet, and I've got to go help my mom do something before it's almost 9. It's 8:40.
Well, Trey, it was a good conversation, man. I would send me your written out proof here. I will get back to you.
Okay.
I will at least say I'm done looking at it if I give up.
Sure.
But I will for sure give you a response.
Okay.
And I'll write out what I think is. Yeah, I can see where you're trying to force people to say they're theists as some sort of trophy, I think. And I'll show you where
I'm just trying to reason, my friend.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I think this argument's pretty silly, and I think you have a long ways to go to prove your faith.
If it's silly, why haven't you rebutted it, my friend?
I just did. I just told you that if you call the thing that created the Big Bang God and say that whoever thinks that the Big Bang had to be caused by something is therefore a theist, that is a silly argument.
Yeah, you're just grasping at straws.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
You
send me
haven't
an
rebutted.
email, and I mean, you can't refute that then.
Refute what? Your irrationality?
Okay. Well, have a great day, Trey. I hope you have good luck with your
You've
responses.
been
And,
you all right. You've been very kind, Josh, and I
yeah.
appreciate the
Yeah.
conversation. And
Next time I
well,
want to see
I
trophies
followed you
behind
on.
you.
Okay,
Not,
I followed you on Twitter, so hopefully we'll keep in touch. All right.
sounds good. Thank you.
All right. We'll see.